Good evening, everyone. Thank you, all of you, for attending the first part of HULATAM webinar series. In these sessions, we plan to introduce the Harrisburg University, its available resources, and the importance of data analytics as the first major that is coming to Panama, and we're so excited about it. My name is Ruzbe Sadikian. I am an associate professor of data analytics at Harrisburg University. I'm going to be I have the honor to be the host of these weekly sessions. Harrisburg University is a private STEM-focused university in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, with additional location in Philadelphia. And soon we are proud to have our new location in City of Knowledge in Panama. HU has more than 50 programs in undergrad, grad, and PhD levels, and we have around 7,000 students who represent more than 100 countries. Initially, HULATAM, or the way that we call it, the relationship between Harrisburg and Panama, will offer a Master of Science and PhD in Analytics, which will be delivered in a hybrid format, which means both online and on-campus classes. Those classes are going to be taught by instructors from Harrisburg University of Science and Technology in the United States. The HU Panama location will also offer cutting-edge professional development seminars and also different type of courses. For the first cohort, we also offer a scholarship too. So if you're interested, please be in touch with me, and I'm going to provide more information for you. If you have any questions during the talk, feel free to type your questions in the chat box, and we're going to get back to you soon. Without any further talk, let's start our first presentation from Dr. Andre Lulia. He is the Assistant Professor of Computational Social Science in Data Analytics program of Harrisburg University. His research focuses on the relationships between information technology, policy, and culture. He has spent the last 10 years doing data and simulation analysis of markets and collective behavior as complex adaptive systems. So please, Dr. Andre, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Sadegian. Well, it is a pleasure to be here. Bienvenidos a los que están interesados en HU LATAM. Today, I'm gonna, well, I think something to add on into this introduction session to get in more know each other. Add into this short bio that I'm Chilean, so I think that for me it's a great pleasure to from the HU come to Latin America, right, to extend the networks and improve our higher education. So today I think my role is to cover the basics of kind of what is HU and HU LATAM properly, right? So to clarify any doubts, to kind of understand who we are and what is studying at HU all about. So I had some slides that I think I can just go ahead and share. So excuse me a second. There we go. Sorry about that. Perfect. So of course we are talking and doing what we call HULATAM, but this is just a part of what is, of course, Harrisburg University, right? As you if you research, right, the whole operations of what we'll be doing in this extension of HULATAM is essentially the same, right, as we do for our normal operations. And for that, I'm talking kind of a little bit on particularly of our graduate programs, which is what we're starting now in HULATAM. So for now, our plans is that HULATAM works kind of like the same beside the physical point of for classes is going to be Ciudad del Saber. So on that, I'll go over that on just a second. So what is let's start kind of by the core, kind of the basics of our institution, right? We are a STEM focused university. So the full name, as you probably read, Harrisburg University of Science and Technology. So although we have a strong focus on science and technology, we have kind of like we have a lot of emphasis on innovation and alternative ways of achieving goals, right? So that means a lot of parallel thinking and a lot of focus on kind of not in the box way of achieving things, and that translates a lot into also the projects, how we organize the university in a much more horizontal fashion that gives us a lot of flexibility, and that our faculty are pushing into in specific areas among and even our students with very innovative programs. So on that, to give you a little bit of the flavor of the spectrum of our programs, we could start with undergraduate, which is based mostly in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And so here you can see the wide spread of programs, and many of them have a lot of interest on pursuing these innovative kind of fields or approaches, right? And we do have on the newest side, kind of a proof of this is our program on esports management, right? Which is kind of course a new thing that is being institutionalized. And we not only kind of studied, we are also participants in this whole phenomena, as we do have our main varsity team, if you will. Our main collegiate level sports is in esports. We have esports at the competitive level, and we've won several tournaments. So that is uh, I think that completes a little bit the picture of who we are. Sorry about that. So on the graduate level, so we're, and particularly here you can see analytics, which is going to be the first program that is going to roll out in HULATAM. I'm here kind of also representing analytics as faculty from that program, but what our aim is to, of course, not start only with that analytics and then open our delivery, right, of other programs. Of course, we do have, and I'll talk that about our philosophy as we go into HU Latam. Uh, we do want to understand what is the need and have a conversation rather than just replicate what we do here, right? And even further, with our other really important aspect of Harrisburg University is this kind of fervor or rising efforts on research, and that is translated into these three programs, which we continuously kind of start developing these postgraduate students on more scientific endeavors. And although, as I said, we don't have like in the box. Of course our PhD students follow different tracks. Many of them are working, but they are trying to pursue these innovative works. And I'm saying again that with the bias of the data analytics, because I know that our PhD students try to push great things in the our data science program, which we have the pleasure, our next speaker, Dr. Ford, is gonna hopefully address a little bit of that. And then a little more than on these particular contents, I think it's good to share this out of the box way in HU, right? We have a lot of flexibility on how we operate, and also that translates on the flexibility that we give to students, right? We have flexibility for working and studying. Many of our graduate programs really work on an executive format, which means that the weekly encounters for our classes or workshops with professors, those are done online, and then once a month we meet in campus and we have a long session, hopefully to work on something or a big lecture. And these are done in Harrisburg, city of Harrisburg here, and this is the kind of like the main difference of what the operation will be doing in HULATAM. And the main advantage for the Latin American region is that this will be done in Panama, in Ciudad del Saber. So for which I'll just in a second I'll just address more of the whole operations and how we will be doing, how how we have developed HU Latam, and we're looking to the future. Um, so overall, I don't just want to talk about research. Let me show you the research center so you can have an idea of what are the topics and fields that faculty are actively pursuing research. And many of these are funded research, being funded research from other institutions here in the US or internationally, and also by the funded by the same our president provides a research grant for a faculty to pursue research. So here, and among these efforts in research, we are I mean, when you probably see the offerings for HU Latam, you'll see that yeah, we're starting classes, but additionally we want to take we really want to take all of this to the Latin American region, and for that we are designing on institutionalizing it, or basically how we are going to make the format of a center or a hub for taking these centers into the region for partners that want to work on these topics. That is going to be called the Institute for Data-Driven Innovation. And we are going to keep pursuing communication and have a research connection here, hopefully to grow partnerships and interesting projects in the region. So additionally to research, we have also the professional development, which is again something that we are actively implementing and offering, and hopefully offering in the short term in the region as well. That's something that here has worked tremendously on continuous education, and we're being able to provide very updated certifications. So more than the what on the who, I think something that is really representative of who we are, and you can see it in another way, is our students and our faculty. But on our students, the way that our university operates is with a wide diversity of international students. So we have this international culture, and you can see that also in our faculty. Our faculty members are from all over the world, and they do active research with other regions of the world. So for that, there is kind of like this. We feel kind of at home in our area in these endeavors to extend HU to other regions. So on that, you've probably seen on some advertisement, or you see in our name there, that Harrisburg HU Latam It's called a Harrisburg University Global LATAM, and that is on a bigger effort that we have on connecting, and we also would like to extend our campus to the Middle East. Okay, I'm gonna. So I just wanted, and maybe just for the sake of time, I'll move into A2 LATAM. But overall, I wanted to add these pictures into what I was saying. There we have our team winning I think that's Overwatch team, which is uh, popular, or at least was a popular game until pretty soon. But they are on different esports moving forward, and then we could see our students graduating. Okay, so concretely on HULATAM. So what I've just said is just, of course, what HULATAM is too. But there are probably some questions, and there is important information to be delivered on how this is gonna work, right? So HULATAM is going to be um, um, uh, so yeah, I think Professor Sadekian asked me to tell a little bit about the story of HULATAM. So, well, HULATAM has been kind of a big plan, motivated and vision. Really, we have our kind of our lead in our extension in HULATAM is Professor Haggins, which has had a great vision and has led us into it. And now it's very concrete. So in the last year, we've been trying to get into the region, know the people. We've been wonderfully assisted. We have here as an attendee dear Merce, which has been a great partner in facilitating our way of that. We've been understanding the need and how to know people that can be key partners. And with that, we have developed already, I think, a good idea on some really good partnerships on ongoing projects. And one of the critical things was the settling with Ciudad del Saber in Panama. So Ciudad del Saber is this kind of open university. Well, it's not a university itself, right? It's this open campus, if you will, for several higher education institutions, right? And events. So this is a great place as it represents the diversity on the academic and entrepreneurship spirit that we have in HAU. So it is a great kind of platform in that sense, and it provides our physical space for keeping the same format that we have here for in graduate programs. So this way we can deliver the same classes in the Latin American region without this demanding condition of needing to travel to the US. So far, we definitely have our campus. Classes are starting in August. We're gonna go with the Master of Analytics first. Um, it's as I was saying before, it has this executive format, right? It's a hybrid program where you have weekly online sessions with your professors, and then once a month, the US professors are going to come to Panama for these 4-hour sessions, right? What we call the executive sessions, and that is how you're going to be moving throughout the semester. So overall, you run in 6 semesters. Usually, you cover the curriculum for at least the Master of Analytics, right? And then in 2 years, without leaving work, family, right? You'll be able to get a U.S. accredited degree, right, without leaving the region. And we hopefully gonna start with the PhD in analytics soon in data science. We do have it in our offering, so that is something that's moving forward. So previously, I mentioned these a lot of centers that we have for research, right? A lot of efforts. We also want to take that there, and we want to, and that is also an essential part, kind of one of the pillars of this is our students. So we are not only doing it to just keep our endeavors or find new projects which are clearly interested with collaboration in the region. The whole process of having these active research and innovation projects is to also have our students have a hands-on first contact experience, right, with these applied projects, which is something that we also believe in Harrisburg University as our education mission, right, to have these experience while learning, or experiential learning, as we call it, right? And other than that, before I give the word to Dr. Ford, I would just like to go over some of our Q&A, so we make sure that at least we deliver the key information. So on classes in person, right? You can get more information on our website, of course, and that's going to be updated. You can also reach directly to us for questions. But for now, the classes are gonna keep the same format, and we're gonna have it as expected in this way. The different titles of graduate degrees, I think I mentioned, but this is also something that is moving forward kind of quickly. For now, we are strongly moving with our data analytics program on the PhD program following right there. I'm not sure if I can confirm it. Maybe Dr. Ford can say something about that. But it is to be expected that we can come forward with other programs such as project management, and that is one program that probably is going to be moving forward really soon. So other kind of important information is overall, right? You are requested to in the U.S., right? A course usually has 3 credits, and you are in total supposed to run 36 credits to complete your degree, which also requires, and in there it's involved 2 classes where you work on your program project. So the tuition cost is 800 per credit, but it's important to know, and I reiterate what Professor Sadigian said before, right? There has been already accepted some scholarships. We are ongoing with that, especially for the students that show interest early on and to get enrolled. So please be in communication for that. And with that, I think I can say just thank you, and I will please give the word to Dr. Ford.
Thank you, Andre. Any question? I don't see any question coming on the chat. So I just had a quick question about the hybrid format that you mentioned. The online, so you said there are online session and then face-to-face sessions. About the timing, can you tell us a little bit about the online sessions, how it's going on? Is it going to be the timing? Is it in the early morning, at night? How is you, and you said that it's not going to be any conflict with the way that people work. They can still have their job and they can attend the school. Can you talk a little bit about this part?
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that is really important. So, well, the format goes with online sessions on the weekdays, right? We currently have two modules, but this is late in the evening. So this would be 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is 6 p.m. I believe in Panama and Colombia, right? To and we have 1 hour and a half of classes per course that you have, right? Usually students would have two courses at the same time, and a semester would last around 4 months. And in those 4 months, you would go 3 times in these executive sessions to the physical campus. And the executive session is either on the morning or the afternoon, and they last for about 4 hours.
Thank you. So now it's the time to move out to our next speaker, the one and only Dr. Rand Ford. I have the honor to introduce him. He's the professor of data analytics and the lead of PhD program of data science at Harrisburg University. Dr. Rand Ford came to Harrisburg University of Science and Technology from University of Maryland University College, where he worked as the director and professor of data analytics program. Prior to that, he served as chair of computer science department at Hood College and as president of their faculty. Additionally, throughout his career, he has held C-level positions at 6 different companies. Dr. Ford holds 4 patents and is active in both academic and applied research. His area of expertise are in the analysis of unstructured data, natural language processing, and machine learning. So here is Dr. Rand Ford, please.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I'm so glad that you've come to listen to this. Let me fumble around for just a couple of minutes and see if I can get the the PowerPoints up. Just a second. I'm getting closer. Thank you for your patience. And let's see if we can pull that up now. It's the one we want. Look at that. I don't have anything up yet. I don't know if you see anything on the window. Hang on a second. This screen shrunk. Rizba, is my PowerPoint showing up?
Yes, we can see it. Yep.
It's interesting because I can't. If I click this, did it just change or anything? No.
No, it's just the first page, data analytics.
Just a second. Oh, so you can see that. Okay, great. Well, good. I can't see it, but I'm going to believe that life is going well, and I'll just head off and go with this. This is such an interesting field, and it's the explosion that's happened here. I'm going to try and explain it a little bit and what's going on with this field. You know, I have an unusual background. I have a degree in cognitive science, a PhD in cognitive science from Johns Hopkins University, and then that's really about artificial intelligence. A cognitive science degree or an artificial intelligence degree in most universities is from the computer science, but I came from a cognitive science department, and that allowed me to learn a lot of computers. And I almost have a hybrid degree between computer science and between cognitive science and artificial intelligence is a Fred point. Most of the people in the field came from someplace else. This field's only been around for a little while, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But let me give you an idea of where it came from. This field didn't even exist a couple of decades ago. Now, it was mentioned by a gentleman named John Tukey, who wrote about a time when we would have data science as a profession, and he wrote about this in a book back in 1963. But our university is just about as old as this field is. It's about 10 years it's been around. And no one in this room was born, or in this presentation was born after this field came into existence. So there is, there's really not any other field of study that's this new and this big that's in existence. So for you to have an idea of here this field explodes and it's large, the first question I would have about that is what in the world and where did this come from? And most of this can be traced back to something called Moore's Law. And if you have a computer science background like Professor Sadegian has, you understand what Moore's Law is, but this is a proposal that was back in the 1960s where Moore realized that computer power and computer storage was doubling about every 18 months. And so if you think about this, this is just phenomenal. There's no other technology that has moved at this rate of speed. So on the basis of this, something very interesting has happened. And that is that we now have something called big data everywhere all over the world, where we are saving data from all different kinds of sources. And the amount of data that we're saving is doubling about every 12 months. So, I mean, that's actually absolutely amazing. If you look at this little thumb drive down in the corner of that slide, to give you some perspective, in 1956, International Business Machines, IBM, had a 5 megabyte hard drive that cost $35,000. And there is a photograph of one that's being delivered. And the amazing thing about that is today, I can put 6,400 times as much data on something that's about the size of my thumb itself. That's why it's called a thumb drive. And the other side of that that's so fascinating is that this drive right here costs $35,000, but this drive costs $7. And that means that back then you paid $35,000 for this. By today's prices, it would cost you about as much as a meal in the afternoon to get this drive and such. So this is an amazing thing that's happened in our society. And this has led to us saving all kinds of information about everything because it's become very inexpensive to do that. The problem with that is the fact, as I said, that the amount of data that we have that we're storing is doubling every 12 months, and that's increasing at a phenomenal shape. So rate. So how do you process that? And that's exactly what this field is about. This is a field of how you process big data and the foundations that come with that. And the reason that this field is showing up with such a powerful state, all this data that's being saved, we're not processing, but we saw some indications about 10 years ago. There was a very large insurance company in the United States that was running in the red, and they were losing more money than they were making, and nobody could figure it out. And they hired some pretty much what we would term by today's standards 3 or 4 data analysts to come in and look at this from a consulting firm. And they came in and ran a quantitative model. And just by shifting a couple of ways that they were running their pricing model, they went from being $2 billion in debt every year to being $4 billion ahead. So these kinds of stories started to evolve about 12 years ago. And on the basis of that, people became more and more interested in the idea of data analytics or data science in order to cover this. Now, the idea here is that the idea of analyzing data across different fields, and that the analysis of data itself is becoming a profession over time. So this is unique. Most of us who are involved in science, and I come from a behavioral science background. Other people come from social science backgrounds. Roosevelt comes from a computer science background. And people that come from different fields of science, they are looking at how data is analyzed within their realm. But it turns out if we look at how data can be analyzed across all these fields, we can learn so much more and such. So it's a great opportunity and such. But just to give you an idea about this, we have this area we call data science, and it has its roots in computer science, math and statistics, applied mathematics, and domains of business knowledge. And I got this this diagram because it's incomplete. There's a whole nother area of social behavioral sciences, and the social and behavioral sciences are really where the statistics that we use, that we've developed over time, have come into being so much so. And people don't realize that. They think it's an applied math situation, but really a lot of it has come out of social and behavioral sciences, where what you're trying to do is to control or figure out where the variance is coming from in data. To what factor can you attribute variance? So this whole field is expanded on, and it's about that whole approach to things. So another way of looking at it is we have artificial intelligence bringing things in. Machine learning evolves into deep learning, and deep learning is this very fascinating specialized field. And the gentleman who started everything tonight, he's an expert in this deep learning area, and he's a magnificent contribution to our faculty as such. And but this whole idea of deep learning comes in. And what deep learning is, if I can give a rather primitive explanation of that Ruth may find offensive because it's so primitive, is from the standpoint that when we first started in the 1950s, we started looking at something called an artificial neural network, and we realized that we could mathematically model how a neuron worked. Okay, and on the basis of that, what it essentially is you have input lines coming in that you can weight. You take them into a step function, a sigmoid function, and you process it, and then you have an on-off state that comes out of it. And then from a mathematical perspective, it looks very closely to what a single neuron looks like, a single cell, nerve cell looks like. So this became the basis on which we started building the whole area of artificial neural networks and such. The problem is that we couldn't resolve having multiple neurons together past more than a couple of layers. So this became a stumbling block for science from about 1965, 1970 on up to some slight progress that happened through fuzzy learning during the 1990s. And then all of a sudden we had this magnificent growth of how to do this. And one of the steps prior to that was backpropagation. It was one way of resolving a couple of layers, but it wasn't a total solution. But deep learning has given us a way to resolve across multiple layers of neurons, and it's showing us information, the likes of which we've never seen before. So this is one of the areas of data analytics that's so fascinating. There are other areas having to do with forecasting. There are other areas having to do with unstructured data analysis. These are kind of the primary areas. There's other areas beyond that, but these are the primary areas of data analytics, per se. And you can start to look at how much is coming out of this. We have business strategies, domain knowledge, communications, presentations, inquisitiveness, dealing and swirling around the idea of database management, data science, statistics, pattern recognition, machine learning, neurocomputing. It's just unbelievable what's exploded in the last 10 years and all that is coming out of this. Specifically, what I can show you to prove that is that this is the analytics and data science job growth on the chart that runs from 1990 up to 2010. And it's such a famous chart that has become kind of a standard. But as you can see, if you say, well, what happened to 2010? If you look over at this chart, you can see that things from 2010, absolutely, this is being treated as a horizontal line. From 2010, they just skyrocketed almost at a vertical line coming up. And that's exactly what's happened in data analytics and data science. The most interesting thing about this chart is that there was a belief in around 2017 that all of this growth was happening in the United States. And that wasn't the case at all. It was happening in Spain, Russia, India, Germany, France. It was happening across all countries that this idea of data analytics was taking off as a profession. So I will tell you that I've never seen anything like this before. I've never seen job growth like this before, or desire like this. So it's an amazing field from that perspective. You know, it really, really is. So it isn't just the fact that there are job opportunities out there. You know, And that's one reason. But if you look at job trends that are coming from Indeed.com, we see that we had this big data growth went to a certain point, and it hasn't really, it's kind of slowed down, people that are involved in big data on the computer science side of things. But data science is still taking off, and it's still exploding at that level. So it's pretty interesting. There's another way we can kind of look at this. And this is the whole idea. If you just think about this company, Tableau, this company has followed this explosive growth up to a point, and then they started to hone off, because the early solutions you could get out of a piece of software like Tableau, and you could have someone at your company learn Tableau and they could solve some of your data analytics problems. But now things have gotten to a level of complexity and sophistication where we're not just looking at percentage of variance of solving a problem at a low level, but now all of a sudden we need much more talent. And the most surprising, or the most thing that lifts my heart most about our data science or data analytics professionals out there is that in as much as there is a dramatic demand, and at some point in time ago, it was 150,000 data analysts they said would be needed, and that number turned out to be closer to 200,000 data analysts. As much as that desire is out there, the companies and the institutions that are out there that are hiring data analysts are clever enough to realize that even though some colleges and universities have started bachelor's degree in data analytics, that those particular students have not risen to the level where they can deliver what is needed in this whole process. And it's been really a good thing, because I knew that I was hoping that it would happen, but in as much as the world needs data analysts, they're not dropping their standards. They're looking for people that actually have a master's degree in this field, and they're not walking away from it. As a matter of fact, they're now looking for more and more people that actually have a PhD in this general area. So that's where the real return is coming, and that makes all the sense in the world. There's some things you can't teach in a 4-year baccalaureate degree. You're gonna need those extra few years to take things up, and that's exactly what's happening in this field. So this is as somebody who specifically kind of came from the outside and dropped into this field because of my background. This is a shock. That I've never seen anything like this in any kind of development. But what's even more interesting than that, and this is showing the revenue that's been dropped into data analytics as of that point in time, how it was going up and such. But the other aspect of it that's even more interesting than that is that it's not slowing down at all. It's not slowing down at all. This is picking up. To me, the most amazing reason, the most important reason for going into this field of data analytics is so you can control your own life. So you can be the person who decides where you want to work, what level you want to function at. And it gives you so much mobility that it's just one of the greatest decisions that I've seen our students make. We've had wonderful feedback. We started this program approximately a little bit more than 6 years ago, and the program was handed over to Kevin Purcell for the data analytics program. I went up and started building out a doctoral program. But some of the amazing things that happened to me while I was doing that are that I was getting calls from major companies on Wall Street that were telling me, we are interested in your graduates because we have 2 of them working at our company. The company's name was Goldman Sachs, by the way. We have 2 of your data analysts working in our company, and are the only 2 who know how to do the job. So we are now telling our employees that they're going to get a degree in data analytics. They better do it. They better do it down at Harrisburg University. Well, this was a shock to me. But the thing is once I brought this up and discovered that Wall Street was sending people down to our university to take our classes, somebody from the Boston Financial District piped up and said, yeah, and we know that, and we're doing the same thing too. They're competing for this. So this is amazing if you think about it. You know, people are that much in demand. We're being touted as one of the top places to do this. You don't earn a reputation like that overnight. No doubt about it. We can't become the quantitative leaders of the field when you've got people out there like Princeton and Harvard and MIT and Stanford. But the fact that we hit recognition so quickly is a dramatic indication. And this happened for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons that happened is because we were able to attract incredibly high quality faculty from across the country, because our university was committed to making sure that our professors' needs were met financially and otherwise, and that they could come to us and grow and expand. So that the university was willing to make this commitment to this field. The other reason is that online education works. We know this because we know research, we know the research results, we know what the data is telling us, and the research studies about online education tell us that people who take an online course as compared to a face-to-face course at an institution or building learn 5% more and retain it 5% longer than students who don't. But here's the best part. You know, we had a hybrid model. We have an executive format. And it turns out if you have that executive format, the research that we've seen so far tells us that there is a 20% retention rate. It outperforms an online model, and it outperforms a face-to-face model. So giving students the freedom to work and to grow at home and to study online, and then to come to a university and get their questions answered 3 times a semester, or to have face-to-face interaction, is all you need to do in order to bring this level of learning up to 20%. And I just think that's fantastic. The Harrisburg University Analytics Program was already chosen as one of the top 20 programs in the country almost instantaneously. And I'll tell you, the one place that shows up as number one on and on and on is University of Maryland, the other program that I set up. And our program is 3 times as robust as that program is. So we haven't put a lot of trouble and a lot of effort into promoting our program to the people who make these decisions, just because we've always been so full. And our professors, the 2 that you just saw, they can tell you that they hit classrooms that are just completely crowded, and they have to do a second section all the time. But this program has already graduated over 1,000 students, over 1,000 people with master's degrees in data analytics. And it's not just that they have a master's degree in data analytics, because one of the most amazing things about this program are our students. We pull up international students from all over the world, and they have an amazing background in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. They have an amazing STEM background. And because they have this STEM background, they come to our door ready to learn, ready to accelerate. One of the problems that I had at University of Maryland with that program was that I lost 70% of my students because they weren't prepared by their undergraduate degree to handle a mathematical profession like this. And I had to scale things back. I have never had to scale back the level of presentation of what we are doing to our international students. And that's not to say we don't have American students at our institution. We have several of them. We have tons of them. But they are different. There are some of the best American students out there. As we say in the social sciences, they come from the tails of the distribution. And they come from where life is really hard, or they come from where life is really easy, but somehow they end up excelling so far past Americans and the other average Americans. It makes a big difference. So those are some of the interesting things. And when I made this slide 6 years ago, I said, why take data analytics at Harrisburg University? And the reason we were doing it at that point in time is that we could point and say, well, we're one of the few places that was teaching R. Now we can tell you we're one of the few places that is teaching both the language R and also Python, because Python has evolved in those last 5 years as a great statistical foundation. And also up at the doctoral level, we're pushing a compiled version of Python called Julia an awful lot. And Julia is a beautiful programming language that was developed by some people out of MIT, and it's great. So we're looking at the cutting edge. Nobody, one of my dearest friends does all of her analysis in social science in SPSS. It's too old, it's too far back, just like SAS is, just like S pluses. It doesn't work. You've got to have technology that's on the edge on all this. So that's amazing if you think about it, that we have our professors that are functioning at that level, that are moving on that. So this is a great place to come after this, and this is a great occupation to go for, and it calls itself out. The most important thing we find in happiness for people and adults later in life is whether or not they're in control of their own lives. And more often than not, when people are in a field where they're in demand, that level of satisfaction of life goes up dramatically. They're some of the only happy people in the United States. It's amazing that if you're in control of your own life, if you can figure out where you can optimize your efforts and your time, it's going to pay off for you. And that's a good thing. So that's why we're looking at this whole process. And there's some other things that are in conclusion that are pretty good. And that's the fact that we've started data analytics summits that are recognized across the United States, that people come to from all over the place. So we're not hiding our light under a bushel. We're doing what we have to do to get the outside of that. A little word about the doctoral program. We consider the master's degree in analytics to be the first 2 years of a 4 to 5 year doctoral program in data science. So when students come out of data analytics and they apply to the PhD program, if they've done a good job, if we've seen something about them that's innovative, if we've seen something about them where they have a great work ethic and they push harder than anybody else, they have the possibility of moving into the 3rd year of our doctoral program. And this takes everything that's happening in data analytics and exponentially it's just an expression of it that's just beyond imagination. There's such a demand. There's a demand for 20,000 jobs for PhD data scientists right now. And if you think about the fact that there's 50 universities that are graduating PhD data scientists at a rate of maybe 6 a year, 10 a year, they're coming nowhere close to filling those positions. So that's a wonderful place to be. And what I will tell you is we just had our 3rd dissertation defense yesterday. And what I will tell you about the first 3 PhDs that we had, the first one we held on to because she was an incredible talent, and we made her a postdoctoral fellow, but she is already working with the Allen Institute, one of the top medical research institutions in the world, whose funds came from one of the founders of Microsoft, and she's doing a wonderful job there. She's also interfacing with the University of Maryland Medical School, which is ranked 38th in the country, and she's working with the shock trauma group there, and she's directing many of our current PhD students in research in medicine. I mean, can you think of a better area? You think of a better area where you want people to focus this kind of talent and skill other than medical research. And so this is very much a dream come true. Our second PhD student didn't go into a postdoctoral fellowship. He became a research scientist in a department up at Yale University. So that doesn't happen to anybody. And that you would have a hard time getting that job had you come from Princeton or Harvard. So you can imagine the level that he's at. And we don't know where our latest PhD is going to end up with his job. He just got his degree yesterday, but we love him to death. He's a wonderful person. He wrote this great piece of work in deep learning, and it's a nice dissertation. We have another person getting very close who already has will have two patents to his name by the time his dissertation shows up. So I mean, there's a real expression of talent. We don't just bring students in and say, okay, go through this domain of courses and end up. We bring people in and we start talking about their creative abilities and expanding those creative abilities from day one within the structure of data analytics and data science. This is a place for growth. This is a place for excelling. So that's my swing at all this. And I thank you for your time and your attention. And I'd like to, I guess, if there's any questions, turn over for that, or otherwise go back to Ruth.
Thank you, Dr. Ford. That was a great presentation. I really enjoyed every moment of it. Thank you for sharing.
Well, you're one of the glorious professors in our analytics department, and I can't say that enough. And you're just such a delight to work with. So,
thank you.
My pleasure.
You're so kind.
Let me dump the screen back though. Here we go. How's that?
So I don't see any questions is coming, but at the other hand, we are just running out of time. We have just 4 minutes. So thank you again. Thank you, the attendees, and thank you, our wonderful presenters. You did a great job, and I really enjoyed watching your presentations. This presentation is going to be shared on our social media, and for those who are interested, you can check our website, Harrisburg University website, for more information about the program. The first cohort of our Master of Data Analytics is going to start this coming fall, and hopefully PhD of Data Science is going to start in spring. As far as I know, I'm not sure about that part.
I think that's going to be related to how many people are, what's coming out of the analytics program. It's going to take time for them to cycle through that. I'm sorry to interrupt, but one thing I want to do is I just saw that Professor Huggins is here, and he's such a dear friend of mine. I just want to say hi. He's been working so hard. I haven't even had a chance to talk to him for months. So, hi, Kevin. It's good to see you.
Pleasure to see you as always.
Mm-hmm. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, you were the best person who knows the answers to these questions. I'm glad that you chimed in. So thank you, everyone, and hope to see you in our future webinars. Our next webinar is going to be next week, and the theme of the next webinar is successful stories plus our resources at Harrisburg University. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks.
Thank you.